So this is the main focus fabric over here. It starts with a panel. There are 12 blocks that you can trim down to 6.5 inches to sew into a block. So aside from that, there are two borders that comes in, a border that comes in two colors, the same cream color, and then also this kind of a lime green that's toned down. Aside from that, there are also a total of 19 SKUs. So then there are these tossed cards that come in a cream background and a black background. And I might need a couple more hands. I've got a helper coming. And then there's also the gray tossed cards, some checks, the floating butterflies, and then tonal prints in a cream, red, blue, green, and yellow that are great for doing applique. Some rodents with dash signs in black and yellow. And then favorite puppy dogs with a red background and a blue background. And then flowers on a cream and green. So I think it's a nice collection. Thank you, sir. A nice collection that can work for little girls or little boys, little girls and little boys. So you can either put them all into the same projects, or you can select some projects for girls and select some projects for boys. I don't know about the rest of you, but you can always find cute things for boys or girls, and it's really hard to find things for boys. So I think it's a collection that you can take either way. So the first project that I made is a book. This consists of lap quilts that you can make for kids of any sizes, but they will also fit the little toddler beds. The ones that you can use a crib mattress, so it's kind of an in-between project between a toddler size, between a crib and between a big kid bed. But you can also use them for lap quilts. So the first one is called Vintage Play. It's a totally pieced quilt. The same block over and over again, but you trim the panel squares down to 6.5 inches and set them inside the block. Feel free to stop me with questions, because I know it's a short series and you don't necessarily have time to come back and answer questions at the end. This is another one. It's a little bit larger size, lap size quilt, and it has just a little bit of applique on it. I like to use a silky thread because it's nice and thick, so it really outlines the applique pieces, kind of like using your black crayon to outline a drawing. And then if you're familiar with any of my Quilt As You Go lap quilts, this is done with that technique. That's going to be my next Schoolhouse, so if you don't know what that technique is, stay for my next Schoolhouse session. This is called hopscotch. All the quilts in this book are named after kids' games. This one is called Balls and Jacks. It's done with the same process. It's mostly piecing, and then you add a little bit of applique at the end when you're done. Fusible raw edge applique. Quick and easy. Seriously, you can make these, the hopscotch, the ball and jacks, and this next one called tiddlywinks. You can make those in a day, including the binding. This one is charm square friendly, so you can use charm squares for that one as well. And then the last one is called hide and seek. This one's not Quilt As You Go, but it's just a nice simple block, repeated over and over again. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've used that black road fabric for almost all of the bindings. I like black. Okay, this next one is a redo or update on one of my patterns called Crooked 9 Patch. It's kind of one of the stack and wax, so you take 12-inch squares of 9 different fabrics and cut them twice in both directions, swap out the pieces so you have one fabric in each block, and then sew them back together. They make great kids projects because as long as you're sewing a straight line, it doesn't matter how big your seam allowance is, because you're going to trim them all up to the same size after you get done sewing them. So there are 2 sizes of quilts in that project. The next one that is a standalone pattern is called My Pencil Box, and it is another one of my Quilt As You Go. So you make the individual pencils into strips, and then you sew those onto the foundation, so you're quilting it as you're assembling it. This next one is one of my big and bold patterns. It's called Oh Happy Daisy. It's very simple. There's just a little bit of applique, fusible raw edge applique, and then you can send it to your quilter to let her do fun quilting things on it. So a really fast lap quilt. This is another one that's basically the same size, but more of a boy version probably. You want to hold that halfway so that they can see the applique. So there's a little dog and a little car. Okay, a big dog and a big car. And again, just a little bit of fusible applique on a solid piece of fabric, and then you let your quilter do some fun things with it. Next one is add a candle birthday counter. So for this one, you can, the letters, uppercase and lowercase are all included in the pattern, and you can put your child or grandchild's name on there, and each year you're going to add another candle. But I would suggest making a whole bunch of candles and putting them away with the quilt so you don't have to make another candle each year. And then this next one is a growth chart that you can hang on the wall and mark your child's height. And then I suggest for that to use these Just Another Button Company growth chart pins so that you can pin them on there like the old time stick pins. They have a back and you can just stick them onto the side of the quilt with multiple child's heights. Oh, and then Ackfeld wire, if you are familiar with them, they're downstairs also in a booth. They designed these funky hangers, and actually there's one for that birthday counter too, but it's in Red Rooster's booth right now. And so you can sell that along with the pattern to hang it.
What was the name of the company that had
Ackfeld. A-K-F-E-L-D. A-C-K-F-E-L-D. They're in the they're the very last aisle before lunch tomorrow. And then another oldie but goodie pattern of mine that's a few years old is Charm Pack Garland. These use 5-inch squares, and you press them twice diagonally, and then you use the nifty clover bias tape maker, and you make the string, and you fold and press, and then you just sit at your sewing machine and tuck these triangles into your bias tape so you can make a nice garland for a tree or to hang around your quilt shop or in my sewing room if that's where I hang that. Let's see. And then I have one more little bonus quilt that is inside my vintage play book. When you make that very first vintage play quilt that's on the cover of the book, you're going to have all those half flying geese units that you trim the corners off of. And so I saved those and sewed them into these tiny pieces and then just used the trim for the border that was left over, the scraps, and made this little bitty thing. I actually have a bed that I found at a flea market that I made this for. Okay, do I have any questions thus far? No. Okay, some of the other things that you can sell along with my patterns are the applique pressing sheet. So for the cars, you'll want to assemble the cars before you put them on the blocks. That's another good thing that you can use to sell in your shop. As I already discussed, the bias tape maker. My Quilt As You Go lap quilts have the warm and natural batting in them. It's a really nice product that makes the quilting go nice and easy, and you don't get puckers and all that sort of thing. So it's a very nice thing to sell along with that. And then I also have another book called Toddler Town that I introduced last year, and that's what this apron is from. So if any of you have the Toddler Town book already in your shop, that's where the apron pattern is from. All right. Okay. So let's see if I covered everything here. Well, the most important thing on your brochure is my booth number, 648. So you need to make sure that you come down and find me starting tomorrow. I'll be there all weekend. So if you have any questions, think of something later, you'll have to let me know. Okay, so we have business cards, and we're going to do some drawings. Did anyone not give Suzn a business card? Because in our drawing we have a coupon for a free pattern or book that you can bring down to my booth and choose whichever pattern or book you would like, along with some chocolate. And if anyone wins one of these and doesn't want the chocolate, you can just leave it right here. And then we also have some of the panels from the collection. Everyone else give me a business card.
If Celine wins, I think it's fixed.
Okay. Oh, see, we have one right here.
Now that is a trick she's been using. She's the last party and she gets picked every time.
Well, but you're the first one in, so you get the front row seat. So it's kind of a, give and take. Everyone's going to get a fat quarter on your way out, so don't leave before you get one of those. And it's at the tossed cars. Okay. I'll draw them names, and then you can be mad at me if you don't. Camille Jones. Is Camille Jones here? I guess she left early. Okay. How about Joyce Overberger? She can have one. Yeah, one each. That's one. Catherine Reyes. Then we have Marty Hubbard. Merrily we so along. Kathleen Lewis. Kathleen not here anymore? She missed out. Marginelle Bailey?
Yay!
You were absolutely right. Well, I guess you should start trying that now.
I know.
Do we have one more? Okay. She was the last one here. I thought that was my last name. Joyce Allendorf. Okay. Any questions from anyone? Okay, please come visit us and don't leave.